Imagine earning $5,900 every month without going to work. No boss, no overtime, just dividend payments showing up in your account month after month. Sounds simple. But here's the catch. Depending on your strategy, you might need less than $900,000 or more than $3.5 million to make it happen. Which path makes the most sense? Let's find out. Living off dividends is one of the biggest goals in investing, but most people have no idea how much money it actually takes. In this video, we'll follow an investor named John as we calculate exactly how much he needs to invest to earn $5,900 a month in dividend income. We'll compare different dividend yields, uncover the biggest mistakes investors make, and reveal the smartest strategy to reach this income goal. Let's get started. The real goal. Before John can invest a single dollar, he needs to know exactly what he's aiming for. And here's the first mistake most people make. They think in months, but the market thinks in years. So let's translate. $5,900 a month multiplied by 12 months comes out to $70,800 a year. That yearly number is what actually matters because dividends are measured annually. Now, how do we figure out how big a portfolio John needs to produce that income? There's a simple formula behind all of this. You take the annual income you want and divide it by the dividend yield. That's it. Income divided by yield equals the size of the portfolio. Everything else in this video is just that one idea, explored from every angle. But to use it, John has to understand the single most important word in dividend investing: yield. Understanding dividend yield. So, what exactly is a dividend yield? A dividend is simply a slice of a company's profits, paid out to the people who own its shares. Yield is how we measure the size of that slice compared to the price you paid. Here's an easy way to picture it. If you invest $100 and it pays you $5 a year, that's a 5% yield. Invest that same $100 for $3 a year, and it's a 3% yield. The yield is just the yearly payout divided by the price. But here's where it gets interesting, and where a lot of people get burned. Yield isn't fixed. It moves. And it moves for two very different reasons. Sometimes a company raises its payout, which lifts the yield in a healthy way. Other times the share price falls, and because the price is the bottom of that fraction, a falling price makes the yield shoot up, even though nothing good has happened. That's a crucial detail, and we'll come back to it, because it's the reason one of John's options is a trap in disguise. For now, remember this: a higher yield is not automatically a better deal. In fact, it can be a warning sign. How much money is needed at different dividend yields? Now let's do the math that everyone came here for. Remember the formula: annual income divided by yield. John's target is $70,800 a year. Let's run it at every realistic yield, from cautious to aggressive, and watch what happens. Let's start conservative at a 2% yield. This is the kind of yield you'd expect from very stable, blue-chip companies that grow their payouts slowly over time. $70,800 divided by 2% equals $3,540,000. That's the price of safety. It's a huge number, but the income tends to be dependable. Now let's bump it to 3%. The math becomes $70,800 divided by 3%, which equals $2,360,000. Just by moving up 1 percentage point, John cut his required investment by over $1 million. That's the power of yield. Small changes move enormous amounts of money. At 4%, a very common target for balanced dividend portfolios, John needs $1,770,000. Notice we're now roughly half of where we started. This is the zone where a lot of realistic, long-term investors actually live. Push to 5% and the requirement drops to $1,416,000. The income is the same $70,800 a year, but the entry price keeps shrinking. Tempting, isn't it? That's exactly the feeling that gets people into trouble. At 6%, John would need $1,180,000, and now the number looks almost reachable. But ask yourself, if the income never changes, why does the price keep falling? What are you giving up to get that higher yield? Hold that thought. Finally, the big one. At an 8% yield, John needs just $885,000. That's less than a quarter of what the 2% portfolio required for the exact same paycheck. On paper, it looks like the obvious winner. Cheapest entry, same income. If this were the whole story, everyone would simply chase the highest yield and retire early. But it isn't the whole story. Not even close. Because that $885,000 number is the dangerous one I warned you about in the very first sentence. And now it's time to explain why. The dangerous truth about high dividend yields. Here's the uncomfortable secret the yield chart doesn't show you. Very high yields are often high for a bad reason. Think back to how yield works. It's the payout divided by the price. When a company runs into serious trouble, investors get scared and sell, and the share price drops. As that price falls, the yield mathematically climbs. 9%, 10, 12, like a flashing sign that seems to scream free money. Investors call this a dividend trap. The yield looks incredible right up until the moment the company can't afford its own payout anymore. Let's watch it happen to a made-up example. Imagine a company whose stock has fallen hard, pushing its yield up to 10%. John, chasing income, buys in with a big chunk of his savings. For a few months, the checks arrive and he feels brilliant. But the business is still struggling. To protect itself, the company slashes its dividend in half. Overnight, John's income is cut in two. And here's the double punishment. When a company cuts its dividend, the stock price usually drops even further, because the high payout was the only reason many people were holding it. So John loses income and watches his investment shrink at the same time. He was paid to walk into a burning building. This is why experienced investors treat sky-high yields with suspicion instead of excitement. A dividend is a promise, not a guarantee, and companies break that promise when the money runs out. So how do you tell a healthy payout from a trap? That's where the smartest investors quietly separate themselves from the crowd, by looking at something the beginners ignore. Dividend growth versus high yield. Here's the shift that changes everything. Instead of asking which stock pays the most right now, the smartest investors ask which payout will be biggest 10 years from now. That's the difference between high yield and dividend growth, and it's one of the most important ideas in this entire video. Picture two companies. The first pays a fat 6% yield today, but the business is shaky and the payout never grows. The second pays a modest 3% today, but it's a strong company that raises its dividend by around 8% every year. In year one, the high-yield choice clearly wins. But watch what happens over time. Because the second company keeps increasing its payout, its yield measured against John's original purchase price climbs higher and higher each year, quietly overtaking the company that stood still. Now add the real secret weapon, compounding. Compounding simply means your earnings start earning too. If John reinvests his dividends, buying more shares, those new shares pay their own dividends, which buy even more shares. It's a snowball. It starts slow and almost boring, then becomes powerful in a way that's hard to believe until you watch it play out over decades. And this points to a bigger truth. What really builds wealth isn't just the dividend, it's the total return, meaning the income plus the growth in the value of the shares themselves. Chase yield alone, and you might get income today while your wealth quietly erodes. Focus on growing, sustainable dividends, and you can have both. But even a perfect strategy has to survive one more opponent: the government.
What happens after taxes? Here's something that quietly shrinks almost everyone's dividend income: taxes. When you receive dividends in a regular taxable account, the government usually wants a share. Now, I'm not a tax advisor, and I'm not giving you tax advice. Rules change, and everyone's situation is different, so please talk to a professional about your own case. But you should understand the basic idea, because it changes John's real numbers. In the United States, dividends generally fall into two buckets. Qualified dividends, which come from most established companies you hold for long enough, are usually taxed at lower long-term rates. Non-qualified, or ordinary, dividends are typically taxed like regular income, which can mean a higher rate. So the same dividend can leave you with more or less money depending on which bucket it lands in. Let's put simple numbers on it, just as an illustration. Say John earns his $70,800 in qualified dividends, and imagine a 15% tax rate applies. 15% of that income is roughly $10,600, which would leave him with about $60,200 to actually spend. Suddenly, the paycheck isn't quite what the chart promised. This is why John may need to aim a little higher than his target, or use tax-advantaged retirement accounts, so that the number he keeps is the number he planned for. And taxes aren't even the sneakiest threat to his income. There's another one, and it works so slowly that most people never see it coming. Inflation quietly changes everything. Meet the silent thief, inflation. Inflation is the slow rise in the price of almost everything over time, and what it really steals is your purchasing power, how much your money can actually buy. Here's the part that catches people off guard. $5,900 a month feels like a comfortable income today. But money doesn't stand still. If prices rise at a modest average of around 3% a year, they roughly double over about 24 years. That means the groceries, rent, and bills that cost $5,900 today could cost close to $12,000 decades from now. So if John builds a portfolio that pays a flat, unchanging $5,900 a month, he might feel wealthy at the start and slowly feel poorer every single year, without his income ever technically dropping. The dollars stay the same. The life they buy keeps shrinking. And this is the moment where everything we've talked about clicks together. Remember dividend growth? This is why it isn't just a nice bonus, it's a defense. A portfolio whose dividends rise over time is designed to keep pace with rising prices, so John's income grows alongside his cost of living instead of falling behind it. A high, flat yield might win the first year. A growing dividend is built to win the next 30. So knowing all of this, the yields, the traps, the taxes, the inflation, what does John actually do? Let's build his real plan. How John builds his dividend plan. John finally sits down and makes his decisions, and the first one is the hardest. He lets go of the fantasy of the highest yield. Instead of chasing 8 or 10% and praying it holds, he targets a realistic, sustainable yield, somewhere in the range of 3 to 4%, focused on solid companies with a long history of paying, and more importantly, raising their dividends. Yes, it means he needs a larger portfolio, but it also means he can actually sleep at night. Next, he refuses to bet everything on one company or even one industry. This is called diversification, and it simply means spreading your money across many different investments so that if one cuts its dividend, it doesn't sink your whole plan. One broken promise shouldn't end John's retirement. Then comes the least exciting ingredient, and the most powerful: patience. John knows a portfolio this size isn't built in a year. It's built through consistency, investing steadily, month after month, reinvesting dividends, and letting compounding do the quiet, heavy lifting over time. And he doesn't just set it and forget it. Once a year, he reviews everything, checking whether his companies are still healthy, whether any payouts look shaky, and whether his plan still fits his life. He's not gambling. He's engineering an income. But even careful people fall into the same handful of traps, so let's make sure you avoid every one. Common dividend investing mistakes. Let's walk through the mistakes that quietly wreck dividend portfolios so you can spot them before they cost you. The first and most seductive is chasing yield, grabbing the biggest number on the screen without asking why it's so high. By now you know that story rarely ends well.
The second is ignoring diversification, pouring too much into a single stock or a single sector. It feels smart when it works and devastating when it doesn't. The third is forgetting about taxes and being shocked when the income you actually keep is smaller than the income you planned. The fourth is ignoring inflation, building a flat income that slowly loses to rising prices year after year. The fifth mistake is overlooking dividend safety, never checking whether a company can actually afford its payout. One quick clue here is the payout ratio, which compares how much a company pays in dividends to how much it earns. When that ratio climbs too high, near or even above 100%, it can mean the company is paying out more than it makes, and that dividend may be living on borrowed time. And the last mistake ties them all together: buying without research, trusting a headline or a hot tip instead of understanding what you own. Every one of these mistakes is avoidable, which brings us finally to the answer John has been chasing this whole time.
So how much does John really need to earn $5,900 a month in dividends? Here's the honest truth. There is no single perfect number, and anyone who gives you one is selling something. What we have instead is a realistic range. Chase a risky 8% yield, and it might look like only $885,000, but you'd be standing on the thinnest ice, exposed to dividend cuts and falling prices. Play it ultra safe at 2%, and you'd need around $3.5 million, a mountain most people can't climb. The sweet spot for most real investors sits in the middle, around a 3 to 4% yield, which points to a portfolio somewhere between $1.75 million and $2.33 million, before we even adjust for taxes and inflation, which push that target higher still. But if you remember only one thing, let it be this. The goal was never to find the cheapest way in. It was to build an income that survives bad years, keeps growing, and still buys a good life 30 years from now. The smartest strategy isn't the highest yield. It's sustainable dividends, spread across many companies, growing over time, and given the years they need to compound. That's the path most people walk right past. And now you won't. So let me ask you, if you were in John's shoes, what dividend yield would you personally choose? The safe and slow, or the high and risky? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them, and I'd love to hear your reasoning. If you learned something new today, do me a favor and hit that like button, and subscribe if you want more honest, realistic finance documentaries like this one. And remember, real wealth isn't about getting rich by Friday. It's about building something that still pays you long after everyone else has given up.